The sands of Saudi Arabia have long been a stage for high-level diplomacy. In March 2025, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio embarked on a crucial mission to Jeddah, seeking to navigate the complex geopolitical landscape of the Russo-Ukrainian war. This trip, filled with symbolism and purpose, highlighted the Trump administration's desire to end the conflict while strengthening ties with key regional players. Rubio's visit to Jeddah focused on both Ukraine and Saudi Arabia. The main goal was dialogue with Saudi and Ukrainian officials, aimed at finding a path to resolving the ongoing war through negotiations. His schedule included meetings with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud and a high-ranking Ukrainian delegation. The timing of this diplomatic move was especially noteworthy. It came on the heels of a period of heightened tension between the US and Ukraine, primarily due to a pause in American aid. Rubio's task was not only to understand Ukraine's position, but also to communicate the Trump administration's stance, particularly regarding potential concessions and the future of U.S. support. Central to Rubio's agenda was the pursuit of a peaceful resolution to the Russo-Ukrainian conflict. This goal, a cornerstone of President Trump's foreign policy, was reaffirmed by Rubio in his public statements. He emphasized the administration's belief that a military solution was not viable, advocating instead for dialogue and diplomacy as the only path to lasting peace. The meetings in Jeddah provided a platform for exploring potential avenues for negotiation. While the details of the discussions remain closely guarded, it is believed that Rubio sought to gauge the willingness of both Saudi Arabia and Ukraine to engage in a dialogue process that could eventually include Russia. The ultimate goal was to lay the groundwork for talks, even if a final agreement seemed distant. Rubio's trip also served as an occasion to reaffirm the Trump administration's commitment to a negotiated settlement. This message was especially important in the context of the suspended aid to Ukraine. By emphasizing the need for a diplomatic solution, Rubio sought to assure Ukrainian officials that the U.S. remained committed to finding a peaceful resolution, even while exploring alternative approaches. Beyond the immediate urgency of the conflict, Rubio's visit to Saudi Arabia had a significant economic dimension. Strengthening U.S.-Saudi relations, a long-standing foreign policy objective, took on new importance in light of the global energy landscape and the potential for deeper economic ties. While achieving peace in Ukraine remained a paramount concern, the potential for a minerals deal with Ukraine was also on the agenda. Ukraine's vast reserves of raw materials, including lithium, nickel, and cobalt, all essential for the booming electric vehicle and renewable energy industries, presented a tempting opportunity for the U.S. Tying future U.S. aid to access to these crucial minerals was a concept reportedly supported by President Trump. However, Rubio emphasized that such a deal, while potentially beneficial, was not the primary focus of his visit. He acknowledged that any such agreement would require careful consideration and negotiation to ensure it was mutually beneficial, and did not undermine the more immediate goal of ending the conflict. Rubio's diplomatic visit to Saudi Arabia, followed by his participation in the G7 foreign ministers meeting in Canada, highlighted the shifting dynamics of global power. The G7 meeting, a gathering of the world's leading industrialized nations, provided a platform for the U.S. to advance President Trump's America First foreign policy agenda amidst growing calls for multilateralism. The juxtaposition of these two events underscored the delicate balance the U.S. faces in its foreign policy. On the one hand, the Biden administration sought to reassert American leadership on the world stage, particularly within traditional alliances like the G7. On the other hand, it also recognized the need to engage with regional powers like Saudi Arabia, acknowledging their growing influence in a multipolar world. Rubio's diplomatic efforts, both in Jeddah and Charlevoix, highlighted the complexities of navigating a world increasingly defined by shifting alliances and competing interests. The pursuit of peace in Ukraine, the strengthening of ties with Saudi Arabia, and the advancement of American interests within the G7, all pointed to the challenges and opportunities presented by a changing world order.